No.
Hi guys. Okay, so yeah, I'm Jonathan. I'm one of the 4 founders, for want of a better term, of the JRDA, and it's great to welcome you all here today at our launch event.
I wish you wouldn't keep moving around.
Fighting Sarah Cox there, not a good thing to do. So a few quick things, and we're not going to talk for very long because you guys want to get out there and start watching the racing and doing interesting things. A very, very, very quick health and safety moment. There are no fire alarms planned. If the fire alarm does go off, you're sitting in this fantastic facility surrounded by explosive vehicles. I recommend you exit through the door, and the muster point, Matt, I think, is out across the road over the other side by the dustbin, by the bin. So no fire alarms planned today. And like all of these speeches, I mean, it's a bit like a bar mitzvah speech or a wedding speech. There are lots of people to thank that I'll just go through very quickly today for getting you all here. Obviously, my 3 colleagues, so Chris Harfield and Joe Williams at the back there, and Paul Burns. And Paul is conspicuous, highly conspicuous by his absence today. That's because he's been, well, we're kind of, the reason we're putting out is that he was testing his Nissan Murano around the Nürburgring and he rolled it, but that's not actually what happened. He picked up a nasty infection on holiday and he's laid up, feeling rather sorry for himself, and with Mandy running around doing all his catering for him. So Paul would love to have been here today. All of this setup was really kicked off by Paul. A lot of you would have had emails and exchanges with him. And so he is with us in spirit, and we are keeping him regularly posted on our progress. So obviously Joe and Chris are here, and I'll talk a little bit about how we founded this, how we got to this point. Must thank Lotus for the use of Lotus Silverstone. This is a fantastic facility. I think really it's a very, very nice little showroom the guys have got here, and Matt from Lotus at the back will be talking to you later. And of course we've got exclusive use of their, to bounce around in as much as they bounce, these fantastic Evora cars that you've got either side of you here. And you'll be hearing a little bit about the Lotus range later on, and those of you who are feeling flush can write a cheque. I'm sure Matt's going to take cheques and credit cards and Amex cards for any orders you want to place. Thank the JC as well, Jewish Chronicle, for their support. There are some JC people floating around here today. You'll see them, and they've given us and been very generous with their space and paper, and also with their support for this event. Our families and significant others should be thanked as well. A few of them here and around. They've put up with a lot of grief and aggravation about us whittering on endlessly about the JRDA and going out for curry nights
Oh yes.
at various points through the year, and coming back rather the worse for wear after a few beers and some curry at the Blue Ginger in
Kenton.
The Blue Ginger in Kenton, which is our sort of spiritual home of the JRDA.
Keeping them in business. Yeah, I've got Queensbury actually.
And finally, of course, to thank you guys because you're the beating heart of the JRDA. I mean, motorsport, as all of you guys know, you're all enthusiasts or even professionally involved. Teamwork is what it's all about. This is all about teamwork, and actually this event is more to listen to you and your views about where we should be going and what we should be doing. And you all been very supportive in your notes through the last few months as we've been kicking this off. We've only had a few weirdo emails, which we go over later. They're too weird to even talk about here. So thank you for all of that. I think just one other very quick point. It's 9/11 today, and that's, I think it's a very significant day for a lot of people. While we're here enjoying ourselves and having a bit of fun and watching the guys out there at the Le Mans Series and the F3s being around the track, there are a lot of people for whom this day is exceptionally difficult, certainly a lot of my colleagues and some people we know. And so if you sort of touched by 9/11, we can thank, I don't know, higher powers or whoever you want to thank for us not being here or for us being able to be here today. I remember being at the first F1 race after 9/11, they held a minute silence. It was quite a sort of sobering event. To see so many people and to realise that if you can counted down sort of 3,000 or 4,000 people that were taken up on that. What a significant event that was. So we should bear that in mind. Right. So, how did all of this start? Oh, quickly on the agenda. If I can, my roadie at the back there. Can you see this? Probably not. So, we'll just do a little bit about the structure and how we see it, and then listen to you and your views. The Le Mans Series racing is a rolling start at 11:15, and then till 12, and then from 12 till 1, we're going to have a few other speakers here. Simon Steele for Racing for Peace is going to give you a little talk about that. We're going to see, hopefully, if we can find him, Alon and Abby, who are going to come back from the pits and all the after-race briefings and all the stuff to come and talk to us about their experiences out on the track today. We're going to hear from Lotus. We're going to have that prize draw, which I don't know if anybody knows about, but there is a prize draw for Lotus Prestige Thrill,
You win a track day.
which involves one of your skilled drivers taking you around the track on one of these, right? No. Oh. Well,
A tractor.
Yeah.
Track day.
Right. Oh, you drive yourself? Oh, fantastic. Even better. That's really great.
You can't enter it.
Q&A, and then for those of you who want to watch the Monza race, we'll be using this flat screen here to do that. So that's the agenda. Now, how did all of this start? So Paul and Paul Burns and myself, we like to come to the F1 races. Over the years, we've been to quite a few of them. And generally speaking, we've ended up in a traffic jam outside the circuit, trying to get out while all the helicopters, go whizzing across above you, all the executive sponsored guys that are flying above you. And we were sitting in the car one day thinking, well, if there's a Force India team, wouldn't it be fun if, we had a Jewish racing team? And so we specialised, we sort of speculated on who might sponsor us. So we had all the Jewish butchers sponsoring us. We had Silverman Cornell. We were naming parts of the circuit. We were trying to come up with how the chief rabbi would bless the car, and like Newman Haas or Newman or Haas used to bless the car in the Indy races before they race. So we were kind of playing around with all this, and it was just kind of a joke, really. We didn't really think anything more of it until we got invited very kindly by Joe and Chris with their new company, WGH Sports Group. Is that right?
WH Sports
Group, trying to get it right. WH Sports Group. As they started, they were kind enough to invite us here to Silverstone to watch a Formula Renault events. It was a Renault day, in fact. And we were over in the BRDC, the home of British motorsport, one of the sanctuaries of British motorsport. Fantastic names up on the boards there. Some very famous guests wandering around, and we were there, guests of the guys here. And I think I mentioned to Joe, Joe, we've had this stupid idea, Jewish racing drivers, JRDA, and we just sort of had a chat about it. I remember we were at the bar, and then didn't think anything more about it. The guys introduced us to their drivers that they were running at the time, and eventually I think Joe came back at me about an hour later and said, he's talked it through with Chris, and he thinks that there could be something in it. We could do something with that, I think was what you said. So, I was slightly taken aback. This is the British Racing Drivers Association we're standing in, the spiritual home, etc. And so, the guys thought there was something in that. And from all of that spawned, after about probably a few curries and quite a lot of conversation, lots of email, then we decided to, I think, announce to the JC, I think first of all, who we told we were forming this group. They were quite interested. And then we saw the note about Alon racing. That was in the JC. We hooked up a little bit with Alon and got the dialogue going. Then about 5,000 emails later, lots of curries later, here we are. So for us, I think if I can have my next slide. Now this is a little bit difficult to see, but just the way it occurs to us, and this might not be the way it occurs to you guys, which is what we want to talk about. The way it occurs to us is that we've got this thing now, this entity, if you will, called the Jewish Racing Drivers Association. And we kind of see two sides to it. So just as Chris and Joe are the professionals in the sport, they're connected closely with the sport,